Greetings, this is Vaughn with Spirit of Health. We are going to make a little dessert recipe for you today. The last class we're doing in the GAPS Diet Series classes is a class on children's nutrition, and we want to have a good option for dessert for the children. So we're going to actually make a chocolate pudding. I know that sounds exciting to everyone. So we're going to make a chocolate pudding. This would be the full GAPS diet. There's actually cacao, which is raw chocolate, on this recipe, which technically isn't GAPS friendly, but Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride says on the full GAPS diet that if you tolerate it, it's okay. Once you're on the full GAPS diet for a period of time, you can start to add in a few foods and just make sure that you tolerate them okay. So let's make some chocolate pudding. It's pretty simple here. The first ingredient we got is good old avocado. So we have 2 full ripe avocados as the first ingredient. And I'm just going to use a food processor here. So I'm going to put these 2 whole avocados in here. Alright, and the next ingredient we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Our third ingredient is 1/3 of a cup of honey. Ideally, you'd use a local honey, a raw honey. Honey you have to be really, really careful with because honey is recommended on the GAPS diet. It's full GAPS diet friendly. The problem with honey is that so many companies out there are selling honey, and they say up to half of the honeys on the market aren't even real honey. They use other sweeteners. They use high fructose corn syrup. Some of the beekeepers feed high fructose corn syrup to the bees. They heat the honey. They just do all horrible kind of things to the honey, and it's too bad because honey is a very medicinal healing food that's been around for thousands of years. So make sure you get a good quality local raw honey, maybe from your local farmer's market. The next ingredient is the cacao. Now, cacao is a very powerful, nutritious food. Like I said, it's not technically recommended on the GAPS diet, full GAPS diet, but if you can tolerate it, it's fine. Cacao is from a bean pod, so that's technically why it's not on the GAPS diet, but cacao is actually one of the most healing foods on the planet. It's chocolate. Everybody loves chocolate. Raw cacao in this form is actually very bitter by itself, but it's one of the highest sources of magnesium of any food in the entire world, and which is the #1 mineral deficiency that we deal with. And then it also is one of the highest sources of arginine, which is very good for the heart and the cardiovascular system. There's a whole host of other properties in cacao that are extremely healthy and beneficial in a healthy way. So you want raw cacao. You don't want any kind of other chocolate by other companies that have sweetened it or added any kind of sugar or anything to it. The next ingredient, we're going to do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So there we got 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then the final ingredient is going to be our milk. Now, to be GAPS friendly, you're going to want to do almond milk. You could do coconut milk. After you maybe come off the GAPS diet, raw milk would be a great choice. So any type of a nut milk or raw milk. So I'm going to pour that in there. And then you can also vary this. I mean, I'm giving you this recipe, but the ingredients can vary. If you want a little bit of a thicker pudding, you could actually do less of the milk. That would just be one option. If you want it to taste a little bit richer, you could do more cacao. So let me give you the recipe real quick just to summarize. You got the 2 ripe avocados. You have the 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We have the 1/3 of a cup of honey. Now, of course, you could use a little bit of stevia if you wanted as well, or totally stevia if you were staying away from sugar completely. The 1/3 to 1/2 cup of cacao, depending on how rich you wanted it. 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and the 1 cup of nut milk, almond milk, coconut milk, or like I said, if you were coming off the GAPS diet, you could do the raw milk as well. So I'm going to blend this here real quick. Ooh, that looks yummy. It's getting nice and thick. You're going to want to give it a minute or so to get it blended up nice and thick. we go. We've got pudding. Let me scrape a little of this glorious pudding out here for you just so you can see what it looks like. So there you go, chocolate pudding. Doesn't that look glorious? And GAPS friendly at that. So your children will love this. I really encourage people to find creative ways to make sweets and desserts. GAPS, again, really encourages just sticking with fruit and honey, staying away from all the high fructose corn syrup, the sugar. Just because it's organic or it's brown sugar doesn't make it healthy. It's still a concentrated sugar that can be very damaging to the body. Agave, extremely damaging and a dangerous sugar. So stick to fruit and honey. That's the way God made sugar in its natural form, and it's delicious. You really don't need anything else, and it's safe for your children. So we just hope you enjoy this pudding. I know we're going to enjoy this later, and it's very rich. I want to make that the last point. This is probably enough for 4 people or more. You just need a little tiny cup because it's very, very dense and very rich. So enjoy it. From our kitchen to yours, this is Vaughn with Spirit of Health. God bless you.